It is Creature.
Bottom left in the red. Another Storm Zerg looking to take revenge on the Protoss race after what happened in Amshar. It's Bioice.
And we did see Creature go for a 13 pylon so that he could get right across the map, still get the denial on his opponent's expansion, force him to build it at the third, but didn't want to have to send 2 probes down. Not a big deal, but just a kind of a small deviation, personal preference type thing. Meanwhile, I mean, Bioice is just like, okay, cool, I'll take it at the third. No 12 pool, no nothing out of the ordinary. And we'll have to see if either one of them busts out something a little funky, or if it is just going to be more of that macro play going into the first game here.
Yeah, honestly, from what we saw from Creature yesterday, and granted, PVT is not PVZ. They're different matchups by the fact that they have different names. But we saw Creature, a player who was willing to go into the macro play, who looked good in those first 10 minutes, and then just kind of fell down against a Vindicta, who was much more experienced and much more comfortable in those mid to late game setups. But the point being, Creature seemed very comfortable just move into that mid game, move into that late game, and then try to go from there. So yeah, I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy from him, at least not on Tropical Sacrifices, not in map 1. While the 5th base is hard to get, 4 bases are very easy. There are ramps to go up everywhere. It's hard to make a cheese happen. Although, I mean, we are in an A, so you never know. But yeah, I agree with you, Steadfast. I think this game, when we start deciding who wins or not, it's probably 7, 8, 9 minute mark, as 3rd and 4th bases are established and as that pressure really starts in earnest.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we're going to see too much before that point. Now, it is worth noting that we... Oh, attempt to deny. No, it's kind of a fake early setup. It is worth noting that, like you said, PVT is not the same as PVZ. So Creature played a pretty phenomenal start to the game, but he struggled to deal with the gigantic late game army of Vindicta. It was particularly those Liberators that gave him a lot of difficulty to Ghosts. We don't have really a similar setup in PvZ. Obviously, you can get up to Broodlords. They can be a strong unit. But I don't think that that's the kind of thing where, you know, you're like, oh, okay, I got locked out of my own natural expansion by a sneaky Terran army, you know, walking up and getting the jump on me. We don't really have a similar situation like that from the Zerg forces. Of course, Lurkers, if they get set up in a nasty spot, can be annoying to deal with, but I think it's Creature doesn't have to worry too much about that as much.
Yeah, I'll buy that one. I don't know. Maybe are Broodlords the equivalent of Liberators? They're both air-to-ground and siege units. But we do have to talk about what Creature is doing in this game, because while Archon drops, DT drops used to be the meta and really aren't for the most part, for whatever reason, for North American Protoss, it absolutely is. So 2nd and 3rd gateway on the way. It's 3-gate DT. This is a build that has been a thing pretty much the entirety of Legacy of the Void. And, well, I guess we're just going to have to see how much damage Creature is able to get done with it. Bioice has at least 1 spore on the way. Doesn't have to worry about that. But you do want 1 spore per base. And you want to make sure you have enough roaches out, enough lings out. It's actually... Oh. That's a messed up wall.
No.
That's not good.
Oh, no. That's a disaster. Oh, man. The lings get in. They don't get any damage done, but they scout the DTs, and that's all they needed to do. And in fact, they will even find a probe, and even one of the lings lives to tell the tale. 4-star done up here for Bioice. Oh, man. That's a disaster for Creature.
Yeah, I like the Ling dodges back up the ramp for a second anyways, outside of stock vision, just taunting Creatures. Like, oh, hey, you know, you can't catch me. It's like your little brother who, you know, likes to poke you. You know, I'm not touching you. Yeah, you can't catch me. But anyway. Warp Prism now on the map, and yes, DTs will warp in, but Lings are going to know where this is coming from. They will be able to shadow it. There's the DT on the way. But Steadfast, there's a spore here already. Lings are where they need to be. Notice the posturing. The Lings are trying to dive in once the DT's overcommit. And there we go. One is dead. And they're not doing a great job of staying on the edge. Now, they are able to find their way back then, but already losing 1 Dark Templar when the goal is to get a little damage done, then turn them in Archons is just disastrous.
Yeah, that's a very rough start for Creature. He got one drone, one Zergling, lost a DT. His tech has been, as you mentioned, found out. It was a very quick third Nexus coming out of Creature. And this feels like the kind of thing that Bioice could potentially punish. He is going to try and go for Lings across the map. There is a shield battery, though, already here. There is a DT warped in defensively, but Bioice could actually build an Overseer since his layer was so relatively fast and actually could find some value on this base. But instead, he's just going to go for probes here. We'll find 3 of them. Archon's going to try and come in on the third base, but already some Queens in a great position, getting a lot of damage done to that War Prism. Drones do have to be a little bit careful. They're actually... Well, okay, they're only going to take a little bit of damage. Transfuse. Oh, he actually loses a very high energy Queen. Wants to really zone out this War Prism, but he's going to end up losing maybe all the Queens. Nope, we'll keep one of them alive. Almost still kills the War Prism. If those roaches were a little bit quicker into that location, I think he kills both Archons, because I don't think the War Prism can safely pick those 2 Archons up.
Yeah, I really like that, the idea of the move from Bioice. You just wedge your Queens in there. The War Prism cannot get close at risk of losing its life. But instead, he lost 2 Queens because, as you said, the roaches were a little slow. The Lings were just a little bit slow in response. And now that means we're going to see maybe more Overlords go down. The drop defense is a little harder until Bioice rebuilds the Queen count. Even then, they won't have enough energy. So, nice idea. I really liked the idea of it, but the execution just a little bit lacking. And behind this Creature, he's got Charge on the way. He's got Immortals on the way. He is going to be going into a powerful timing behind this. When that +1 is done, when Charge is done, when he has maybe even a couple more Immortals. And that can be powerful against the composition that Bioice has, but he's taken almost no economic damage, so he should have just enough stuff. He's got 10 more roaches on the way.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent sized commitment, it looks like, from Bioice. He might be the one who decides he wants to get aggressive. Generally speaking, a lot of Zerg players feel like when you hold a DT into Archon drop play, that you can just kill them with a big roach printer off of a 3-base saturation setup. Now, in this case, I don't know that I would agree, because Creature was able to get away with a relatively quick third Nexus behind this, but we can see the supplies for Bioice. It's just exploding right now. So it might end up being an aggressive play into an aggressive play. Yeah, it's going to be... It is going to be Bioice getting aggressive, but this is a lot of Archons and Immortals set up defensively for this.
Oh, those are great force fields too. Archons get so many shots off, and Archons normally they're just these big tanky boys. They sit there, they don't do a ton of damage, but what they do is soak HP. When Archons are able to do that splash damage, that heavy anti-biological damage against these roaches, I mean, look at what's happening here. Bioice's army can't fight. It's just got to run. Bile's going to land, but not enough. It only does shield damage to these Immortals. And this just feels like a massive mistake from Bioice. Yeah, the supplies say one thing is, oh, Bile's a good dodge there. The army of Bioice is not going to survive, at least not much of it left. And now Creature can run on the other side of the map. We're talking about that timing. He kind of wanted to go for it anyways. This time he's doing it. And his army is just so powerful.
It is very powerful, but he is getting a little bit segmented off here, letting his units kind of run away. He ate one Corrosive Bile there on one of the Archons. Roach counterattack comes in here for Bioice. And this is kind of funny. Creature warps in some DTs and Zealots. So he's like, oh, I'll use the DTs. He can't see these. And then he just warps in an overwhelming number of Zealots anyways. And it's like, oh, okay, fair enough. Losing the Archons actually does hurt a little bit, because they do an amazing amount of damage versus Roaches. I don't know if Creature can actually push into a Bioice that has been building still a lot of units. I think if Creature attacks in here and doesn't give himself a way out, he could end up heavily overcommitting, but he does have a lot of power with his units, and he is building many more Archons. He's going to be back up to 5 Archons now.
You know, Archons, as you said, incredibly powerful things, but it's so hard to get up this ramp as well. We saw the Zealots kind of run forward, but they turn around immediately. But if Creature, I agree. I don't necessarily like him attacking into the core 4 of Bioice, but if he uses this as an opportunity to take his 4th base, to tech up, we see a Templar Archives on the way, his 4th base is done, yeah, then that's a great idea. You just kind of posture here, you take non-committal fights, you try to trade away as well as you can, but Zealots, they run in, force field committed, and that's just a lot of dead Zealots. And the supply of Bioice continues to just be massively far. Those are really nice force fields, though, as the roaches, they try to run away. And that force field is not going to be nearly as nice. It actually just zones Creature's army out just a little bit more. And now the roaches feel like they can dive on top of things. Biles on the backlines force the Immortals to split away, but even still, Creature, he's kind of punching through here. He needs more, though, and he needs, really what he needs is more Archons.
Yeah, he lost all the Archons here. The Zealots do warp in, but it is a little bit too little too late. And Creature's army supply, or well, supply in general, falling below 100. He absolutely massively overcommitted here. And this is what I was worried about. Bioice just didn't stop building units. He only droned up like maybe 5 extra drones during all this, 8 extra drones. And now Creature, he threw away a pretty massive advantage by overcommitting there. He's going to morph in a bunch of Archons. Hopefully Bioice doesn't return the favor by overcommitting into Creature's, Creature's defensive setup. But Bioice is now very far ahead in this game.
He very much is. But we're also seeing the problem with Tropical Sacrifice. How do you get up these ramps? It's so hard. The only spot you can really attack into is, well, where Bioice is showing up right now. But there's a wall. It takes a while to get through it. And as Robert Frost says, the good walls make good neighbors. Unfortunately, there is no good wall anymore. So I guess Bioice and Creature no longer good neighbors. Roach is getting on top of these Archons. Immortals firing what they can. And the pickup micro from Creature, is not good enough. The Biles knocked down both Immortals. And it is literally an Immortal that is left in this game. I guess there's some Zealots too, but yeah, that is not enough. Creature, well, the Creature feature this game is a scary Bioice, and he's dead. Bioice takes game 1.
Yeah, the story of that game, Creature had himself a great position. He didn't need to attack. He could have teched up into Storm. He had his 4th base already on the way. The Templar Archives is on the way. But he just committed so hard onto creep. And if he had, looked at the army of Bioice, said, there's a lot of Roach Ravager here. This is not a good composition for you if I get maxed out or even, 160, 180 supply. But instead he said, I can kill you because I defended so efficiently. And he just kind of miscalculated. Big overcommitment from Creature. Bioice turns it back around. He also did something very nice there, Bioice that is, where he took a fight when he realized, even though it looked like a bit of a rough fight for him, he took a fight when he realized that the War Prism was staying in its warp-in mode. Knowing that his opponent couldn't lift things up. And yes, he lost a fair number of Roaches and Ravagers to do it, but he ended up picking off a lot of the Archons before those Zealot Warp-ins got in there. And then he was able to make the defense happen, and he just went for that counterattack, and he had way too much.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, sometimes you overcommit and it works. More often you overcommit and it doesn't work. And those Biles at the end were just disgusting. It's not often you see Biles kill a bunch of Immortals like that. But now we move into a map that is actually even more Zerg favored. Unless, I guess, you're Trigger and you can hit with 1 Disruptor and 1 Colossus at 530, because then who cares? But Cosmic Sapphire will be map number 2. It's another good map for Zerg. Steadfast, with how that game 1 went, I'm kind of starting to smell a 2-0 here.
I wouldn't say so necessarily. It's hard to say. Creature had some great War Prism micro. He definitely gave himself some opportunities, but I hope he doesn't make another big overcommitment like that.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out.
And here we go, spawning up at the top left for Root Gaming. Can he settle it down a little bit? Maybe not go for those overcommitments. It's Creature.
In the bottom right, he's up 1, really in a tour de force in this series. He is Bioice.
And that was kind of how I expected that game to go from Creature's perspective. He is an incredibly strong micro player, especially with those War Prism plays. And we saw it with the defense against that initial push from Bioice. Like, Bioice was pretty heavily committed. And the War Prism micro was quite good to start things off. Got himself a big, bulky, strong army. But then tried to end the game when he really didn't need to.
Yeah. And I agree with you. If he had gone up to 160, 170 supply, maybe gotten Storm. And Storm is not the best thing against a bunch of Roaches, but it it takes him down to a killable position because roaches still clump up pretty heavily. So whatever it would be, disruptors, storm, advance to that next level of tech, get up your supply much higher, exist on your 4 bases that it's not likely that Bioice will break. Yeah, that would have been a great move. That would have been what Creature should have done, but he didn't. Bioice now up 1-0. But I gotta imagine we're gonna see a similar game, considering, as you said, both players had pretty tremendous opportunities to win.
Yeah, well, the big thing about the Storm transition is that it's obviously not amazing against Roach Raptor. Still can add on some good DPS, but it would deal with a lot of the follow-ups that could come in from Bioice. It would deal with quite well with, let's say, adding on Ling Bane to make it Ling Bane Ravager. That would be a very handy tool to have against that. It would do well against Mutas as well if Bioice were to go into that. It would have preempted a lot of the potential follow-throughs. Oh, look at this from Creature. He really wants to deny this third base. Bioice finally gives him the slip just enough to get that hatch down. But that was a surprising amount of delay right there. Bioice tried to get away without building any Lings. And if Creature had actually gotten in on top of that drone just a little bit more effectively, this Adept might have been able to deny the third. That was kind of close.
Even still, Bioice tries to get away with not building many Lings. He only builds 1 set. He only builds 2 Lings, which means that this Adept could, theoretically, it could just shade in the natural and actually get a decent amount of workers dead. But he doesn't want to commit to it, worried that there is maybe a second set of Lings hiding somewhere else. But Creature is going for that mid-game macro setup. There is no Templar Archives this time, no DT drops, and thank goodness that was really not a good spot for Creature, though a good approach for Creature in that game 1. Instead, it's Oracles. And Steadfast, this can go in several different directions.
Yeah, he is going to go for something very techy to follow this up, though. Immediately got a 3rd and 4th gas here. Now, this could be single Oracle straight up into an Archon drop. This could be double Stargate Carrier. There's a lot. Okay, well, it can only be really one of 2 things now, and I'm pretty sure it is going to be that double Stargate Carrier. Could be a Tempest Rush. We actually saw that in a series. Hellraiser tried to get sneaky with Lambo, but it did not work out for him. I think this is going to be the Carrier Rush, though. I think this is going to be a 2, maybe even 4 Carrier Rush. We'll see if he gets the +1 air.
Yeah, the only question I have in my mind right now is the Oracle doesn't really get much. Force the cancel, of course, against the drone, but it wants a little bit more. Only question I have really in my mind about this is this pure Carrier after you go the 2 to 4 carriers and you just run across the map with it? Is it actually for those carriers and then back into ground transition like MaxPax likes to play? Or is it straight into 2, 4, 6, 8, 10? You just never stop the carrier production and you just try to transition into Sky Toss as hard as you can?
That is going to be a good question, and I think whether we see the +1 air weapons will be the big tell. Creature, by the way, really delayed his 2nd carrier quite a bit, pretty unnecessarily. That's it's not a huge deal, but Bioice is building a lot of Lings, and he has a Baneley Nest. I think Bioice wants to deny this 3rd base. Now, against a 2-base carrier play into an already late third base, you need more than that. You need to find some probe damage, because the counterattack from Creature will probably be a little bit too strong. But actually, if he doesn't even get the 3rd base, that's kind of a disaster for Bioice. Ooh, never mind. Okay, he's going to Morph in Banes. He's going to try and bust through at the natural.
Okay, so in the Trigger and Amstrad series, we saw an Adept in the wall that was not punished. This time, it seems like it will be, as that Adept is still sitting there, and I can't imagine Bioice would dive on the 3rd from this position. So our Banelings are done. Lings, oh, he's just out of the wall. It doesn't matter. But actually, wait. Okay, it's an Adept in the wall once again. Banelings come busting right on through. Actually, they don't even have to all go down, and now Lings will show up. But carriers are already out. Oh, probes got a split here. Actually, not many going down just yet in Steadfast, but the carriers here, this is not enough from Bioice whatsoever.
No, not even a little bit. That was very ineffective, actually. We see on the resources lost. I mean, the only thing that goes well for him is that he sees the carriers, but his drone count is nowhere near where he wants it to be. He needs to build spores now. As we can see, his queen count is only at 5, so he's trying to pump those out. This is an amazing position for Creature. Bioice is going to try and get some Lings because he built more for whatever reason. He's going to try and get some Lings in on top of the 3rd base, but there's a shield battery. The Oracles regenerated a little bit of energy. it's going to be able to help deal with this. It's +1 melee lanes, but the carriers on the other side of the map, at the very least, should deny this fourth. Oh, he's attacking the rocks to make sure they stay deployed. Oh, go back in onto the queens. Ooh, he's going to try and, well, bam, just targets one down instantly.
Steadfast, I want to correct something. These are not +1 melee lanes. Bioice canceled it. I don't know quite when he did, but there's no upgrades. And it's not on the way.
Okay.
I guess did he need the gas for the Spire, maybe?
Well, it was it should have finished like a minute ago or something if he'd committed to it. As it is, he doesn't. That means those lings don't get as much damage done as they would have liked to. They got 6 probes. They probably get like 10 or 12 with the +1 melee because they kill everything else a lot quicker. Instead, now we've got +1 carriers coming into the main base. There are some spores here, but a lot of overlords are going to fall. Even though this won't supply block Bioice, Creature's doing a great job of making sure those interceptors stay out for pretty much as long as they can. But this is such a bad position here for Bioice. The Spire's going to complete, but like you said, we are going to see the ground transition already coming in for Creature.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think you said, okay, well, if there's +1 air, it's going to be pure air. It's going to be like a pure big carry push. And if not, we're going to see ground transition. Creature gets so much out of that push that he can go +1 air and still do the ground transition. He can have his cake and he can eat it too. But we're going to have to see. There are 14 more banelings on the way trying to bust through the wall. And again, it is just an adept in this wall. There is a shield battery here, but I think actually that's within splash range of the Banes. And regardless, the adept just dies. So Creature, his carriers are now on the map. This is not nearly as defensible position. There we go. The adept is dead and into the mineral line. They will trundle. Probe's gonna get split, but still 5 workers go down. And there's just nowhere to go. 12 workers fall, and actually we're at this point where you kind of don't want to spend the banelings like that, but they're gonna get 18 workers. That is a bit more like what Bioice was looking for.
Yeah, and it actually got the carriers to hesitate going across the map. He dragged them back home. Now he's sending them forward again, sends them back again for a little while. And this has actually given Bioice the time to get out 8 Corruptors. And with the, actually, sorry, it's going to be 11 Corruptors on the field, 12 eventually. With the Queens here, okay, that kind of sucks, losing one on a rally. It actually will give up the ghost on where the gold base is. Oh, but okay, Creature says, I don't know how many Corruptors you got popping out. And this is gonna cause a deflection. Wait, Creature, okay, he is really hemming and hawing on what to do with these carriers.
He thinks it's breakfast. He's waffling all over the place. Like, I don't understand. No, okay, that's what he was doing. He's just waiting for his army to all come together. Didn't want to send the carriers a little bit too early and then maybe lose one, I guess, because that is 10 Zealots warping, and +1 is just about done. 5 Archons here means that these Corruptors are paperweight. I'm sorry, 6 Archons means these Corruptors are paperweights. Yeah, this base is dead.
And so too is Bioice. I was going to say, he's got nothing that deals with this. Creature, well, I mean, Bioice committed to a big ling push that needed to kill at the minimum the 3rd base. Didn't even get that. He throws away a lot of lings. Because his drone count is so far down from where it should have been, the carriers get, I mean, just by forcing spores, they get a lot of damage done. Yeah, it's not an ideal game plan for Bioice, and now we're going to game 3.
Yeah, so we've had a very suboptimal game 1 for one player. We've had an extremely suboptimal game for the other player in game 2. That means game 3 is going to be a little bit more even.
Yeah,
right. That's how that works. That's my math.
Sure. I have no idea. Both players have made some decisions that have been a little bit questionable, but it's tough because it's very clear that neither of them knows exactly how good the other player is at this point. So they're kind of testing the waters with one another. And it's just led to a weird little setup.
Yeah, we've had some odd games in this series, and also, I mean, it's North America. You have some weird builds. Although, in fairness, the builds haven't been super weird in this series. Data C will be map number 3, and that is a much bigger map. It's a map that actually, if Creature wants to go for it again, it can play into that carrier style. There's a bunch of high ground doodads that you can just kind of float over and not take much damage, regardless of what is up, regardless of the map. We're into it, folks. It is time for game 3 Who wins? Who loses? Steadfast. Can I get a prediction?
I think Creature wins this one.
All right. Creature 2-1.
All right, and here we go. Spawning up at the top right for Storm Gaming. It is Bioice. My Canadian lad. Let's see if he can prove me wrong.
In the bottom left, in the blue, root for root, it's Creature.
And he is going for, once again, another quick pylon. 13 pylon into the block on the other side of the map. Makes sense. Bioice going up to 18 drones, actually. Did he not send the drone the proper way down to the natural to, like... So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to send it, like, halfway out towards the third base, or at least a decent ways towards the third base, so you don't have your hatch delayed by a ton. In this case, it was quite late for Bioice, and this is already, like, a little bit of a disjointed opener. It's not a huge deal, but, like, seconds do matter in a game of StarCraft 2 at this level.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that even, for example, we see Creature here, he's mining on and off on these minerals because it forces the drones to mine a little bit suboptimally if you're not paying attention. And even that can be the difference. It's funny, you hear Cats talk about this a little bit. When he was playing professionally, and he would talk to Sue, and Sue would always just get his natural down about 2 seconds quicker than Cats would, because Sue's probe splits or drone splits were so much better, and he got much more efficient mining on the minerals than Cats was. It's like, that doesn't seem like it should be a big thing. It's like 1-2 seconds, but it's massive. It means more larva.
Yeah.
It means more of everything.
And it's cascading too, because the earlier you get an advantage, especially with the Zerg economy, I mean with all of them really, but especially with Zerg economy, the more you can cascade that into additional drones earlier on, the more likely you are to have, you know, extra units when maybe a big attack comes in, or maybe you decide to hit an aggressive timing, that you end up with 3 extra roaches or 5 extra banes. Like, it can be a big difference maker.
Yeah, and then, well, Bioice would be looking for that, but Steadfast, at least, Stargate on the way. Creature,
Yep.
We don't know what it's going to be just yet, whether it will be that second Stargate, whether it's going to be for a third base. We keep an eye on the gas timings as well, but for right now, I mean, that just makes sense. Stargate opens you up for really the greatest amount of possible strategies in a PvZ, assuming you're not all-inning or something.
Yeah. Oh, we are going to see the Adept shading into the main base, which is kind of a surprising decision because he chrono boosted the second Adept. Creature's going to lose this. That's pretty unfortunate because now this follow-up from Creature with the second Adept is not going to get that much done. Bioice did commit to a lot of lanes defensively. Oh, he kind of really wants to kill this Adept, and he will get it and saves the drone. So a great little start for Bioice. Kills both Adepts for the cost of what? 1 Ling?
Yeah.
1 Ling and 1 Spore Crawler morph? Yeah, this is a phenomenal start here for Bioice.
And honestly, I'm not sure whether that's the spore or not, but we're at the point in the game where you just kind of want spores anyways. So just letting that one complete is not the end of the world. It's like, okay, well, I kind of wanted that anyways.
Exactly, and that was the one that he got. Bioice also forced the probe away from the third base. Now this base is delayed already 20 seconds and counting. This is an amazing start for Bioice.
Yeah, especially considering this looks like a game where Creature does want to go into ground play. We don't have that double gas setup on the natural, so it's not even one of those games where you're going to be okay with taking a delayed third because, well, you're going to drop the second Stargate, you're going to drop the fleet beacon, and you can't really take a quick third anyways. No, Creature leaning into some semblance of Twilight ground toss, we can assume, but all that's just going to be delayed a little bit. And Steadfast, thanks to Creature 2-1, the way this early game is going, it's looking pretty Bioice favored.
Yeah, it's looking great for Bioice so far. He also forced the Oracle, the first one, to stay home, which is a nice thing. And then he forced it to turn on his Pulsar Cannon twice, which means just now, at the 5-minute mark, these Oracles are finally showing up across the map. I mean, they could get some damage done. And in fact, they will find 2 drones, good micro with the Oracles initially, but already a lot of hull damage on one of them. Oh man, he's got to be so careful. No, he's not actually flying out. Oh, that was such a risky move. Bioice should have punished that. That should be a dead Oracle right there.
I think it's one of those setups where you assume that the Oracle player won't do it because that would be dumb, or that would be suboptimal, I guess, a better way to say that. And then they do it, and you don't have your queens in position because you would assume that they won't do it, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. By the way, Creature going for 4 more gateways before starting up the Twilight or the Forge upgrade. Hello?
He has the gas. I mean, he definitely has the gas for whatever he wants. +1 and Blink now on the way, but I feel like that could have been started 20 to 15 seconds faster. And you were talking about it. Those small differences make a big deal. They're the difference between fighting against +1 and not fighting against +1. Between the Zerg having 72 workers or being forced to start to build army earlier, whatever it is, 10 seconds is actually really significant when we talk about these high-level timings. So Bioice doesn't know about it just yet, but he is doing a good job of keeping tabs on his opponent. He's got his 4th base up. He's getting himself up to a significant, going up to almost 80 workers before the 7-minute mark.
Yeah, and Creature, the thing that just confuses me is that he started the gateways for what seems like it wants to be a very aggressive timing before getting these upgrades. Maybe he just wanted to really focus on additional warpins, and it seems as though Creature is going to be getting very aggressive here. He is taking the 4th base, but it will be, at least for the beginning, that hero style. He's on just the 4 gases. It is going to be the Blink and the +1. But as you said, Bioice, he's already pretty well set up. He's on 75 drones. He's going to have +1 missile and roach speed by the time this moves out. Creature, okay, he is going into a quick Templar Archives, and this may be a little bit kind of like the Hearthstone follow-up, which is to say, quick storm off of this, and I do like that. But it feels like Creature is just a little bit kind of maybe slightly suboptimal with a lot of his timings.
Well, the Stalkers with Blink now, with +1, will arrive. A couple workers fall. Looks like, I think, the Oracles in that 4th base, the 3rd base of Creature. But on the other side, Lings actually get a good surround, but not enough. Okay, actually, no, those are Adepts. Adepts get 7 workers, 8 workers, dude. That is very nice here for Creature. And I got a question, Steadfast, as we move into this game. Going for +1 Roaches instead of +1 Lings against a heavy Blink Stalker commitment. Roaches, they are not particularly good against a good number of Blink Stalkers. The bonus damage is great. Lings try to dive on that base, but they're not getting anything done. But Bioice seems like his approach to this is not to contest Creature, is not to hit with heavy run-bys, is just to try to keep the Stalker player off the map while he gets into a very quick hive. And Broodlords, I would assume, based on the Spire timing.
Yeah, almost certainly going to be Broodlords here. That's a very surprising answer to the hero style. Personally, I'm not fond of it because you're going to have the highly mobile Blink Stalkers. You're going to have to be contesting charge lots a lot. If the Broodlords can somehow find an aggressive setup, then you can maybe get some good work done. You find a good siege position. But the mobility of Creature's army is going to be far superior. Now, that doesn't mean it won't work for Bioice, but the potential is going to be strong for Creature, I think.
Yeah, and honestly, Steadfast, when we look at this, remember the series against Patty Mac, Scarlet against Patty Mac yesterday? She lost game 1, I think, in part because she went for those Broodlords and just got picked apart for a while before the carriers arrived. I don't think Bioice is quite as good of a player as Scarlet is. It's the value, the worry is still there. But Bioice, he's active on the map right now. Stay Trap gets a little bit of something, but with so many Ravagers on the field, yeah, they force the Stalkers to go back, and actually decent Biles, but I mean, the Stalkers can fight that one very, very well.
They can. They certainly can. Ooh, Oracles are going to help out against the Roaches on the top side. Meanwhile, we've got Bioice kind of forcing Creature back a little bit. Corrosive Biles. Oh, they really land home hard. Now, the Battery Overcharge is going to help heal those up significantly. Storm is going to be finished on up, which will be exceptional against these. Oh, but the Corrosive Biles land on the high tempo. It takes out 3 of the 4 of them. The Storms are good against the Ravagers. Both players taking some huge hits, but I think this is going to favor Creature at least decently for the initial defense. 37 now more Roaches on the way for Bioice.
This is a weird way this game is going, but now Stalkers, they blink forward. +2 is done. 1 Queen falls, second one getting very low. But in the absence of oracles, the creature doesn't seem to want to go onto the high ground. And we talked about Greater Spire. Is it good? Is it not good? Well, it's almost done. We have creature building immortals. There is, I don't know that there is a unit that is worse against a Broodlord than an immortal is. Now, we have all these stalkers. They can dive on top. They are much more mobile. That's fine. But creature seems to be committing pretty hard to this anti-ground idea, where he just doesn't really have any idea about the set, about the tech choice that Bioice has gone for.
Yeah, but to be fair to creature, Bioice remaxed on pure roach here. Oh, very aggressive blink forward. The High Templar, there's a lot of storm energy here. This is a little bit scary for Bioice. He's trying to get into the Corruptors now, and he has managed to successfully trade off enough supply to build at least, you know, like 5, 6, 7 Broodlords. He's got to be careful that he doesn't overmake Corruptors here, because at this point, actually, oh wow, okay, he is adding on even more Corruptors. I was going to say, at this point, he does have the free supply to morph those into Broodlords, but now he actually doesn't. He doesn't have enough free supply to morph the Corruptors that he's got into Broodlords, and creature is moving out. 5 Broodlords on the way, but only 1 of them out at the moment. This is looking a little bit scary for Bioice.
Isn't that always the fun math you do when you're going Broodlords? Like, okay, how many can I make here? How many Corruptors do I need? But the Stalkers, they blink for a good storm on all of these roaches. They just fight under it for quite a while. And the Broodlords are on the way steadfast. They're morphing, and there's one already here, but now more arrive. But these storms looking to put the kibosh on that one. Biles will land on the War Prism, but not before the Zealots. They start to arrive. And storms now on the morphing Broodlord. Stalkers just blink right on top of them. And the roaches are not really here to defend, but the Broodlords on the left side doing so much. Those storms, again, so damn powerful, but it seems like Bioice has just barely enough to defend his Broodlords, and if the Stalkers cannot get on top of them, they cannot fight against them. The Stalkers, they have to blink away. Archon's dead. Bioice taking the fight that he needed.
Absolutely. Killing the War Prism as quickly as he did really helped cut down on the reinforcements. That was a long pitched battle, so those reinforcements for creature were very necessary. And once the War Prism went down, I think creature needed to get the hell out of Dodge, but he stuck around. The Broodlord shelled away for a very long time. The storms were good, but they were mostly on roaches, and Bioice got out of them rather quickly. Now, the Broodlords look like the perfect choice from Bioice. Creature, he has basically been on a retreat this time, so it's not even like he can outmaneuver the Broodlords. I think Bioice might just end the game right here and now. It's like almost 100 army supply advantage at this point.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. He almost got on top of the Broodlords. In fact, he got on top of the Broodlords on the right side, but just not enough on the left. And when we talk about Broodlords being questionable, often it's because the Protoss player goes and kills the Zerg as they are in transition. But that did not happen. Creature was not able to be effective with his attack, and now there is really no stopping these Broodlords. We have 6 of them on the map. Yes, there's a fleet beacon on the way, but it's kind of, there's only one Stargate. You're going to build one Tempest at a time, and it's going to take forever to have any sort of critical mass. So the Stalkers, they blink, they run, they hide, more Archons on the way, but Archon's only marginally better than Immortals, say, against these Broodlords. The Roaches driving on through. Creature, he has the hope, he has a dream of trying to hold back in this game, but unfortunately, I don't think that's possible. In fact, it will not be. Bioice takes the 2-1.